Yeah, word up? Check the mic. It's Jarad, Brandon, Travis, and Cypher making it live, dropping jewel-encrusted knowledge on how the modern world thrives. From education, elevation, to the tech-driven innovation, building stronger families, a righteous spiritual foundation. We examine every angle, untangle all the hot topics. Our perspectives are organic, knocking the phoniest off its axis. This is essential listening. Stay tuned and get the field notes.
Word up! Peace!
Welcome to Field Notes, where we talk about faith, family, tech, business, and all the things between. My name is Jarad, joined here by Brandon and Travis. This week, we're going to dive into the topic of what we measure and the lives we accidentally build. First, before we do that, let's do a quick check-in. Travis, how's your week been?
It's been really good. We just had some friends over last night for dinner who we've been meaning to get together with for a long time. I don't know if you ever do this where you're like, we keep running into each other. We should totally get together sometime. And it just never happens and months go by. So we were laughing. We finally did it last night. Their kids came over. Their kids are the same age as ours. We barbecued. It was just great summer, low key fun.
I was on the phone with a buddy from the Midwest the other day, and we'd been on the phone for 10 minutes, and his neighbor stops him, and he's like, oh, I just got to talk to him. 15 minutes later, he's like, oh, I'm back. So I'm just saying, Travis, no. No, I don't run into people. No, I don't, be like, let's come over. I'm scheduling my life 6.5 months out for every play date and everything. The Bay Area is not that kind of user friendly, at least for me.
Yeah, I don't know. That might be pro mode. You're being very efficient, and so that will dovetail very nicely with how we measure things here for today's topics.
Yeah, I'll take a kind of alternate approach to that. I had a friend in from out of town and took him to Ramanagi for Japanese food on Thursday night. And I asked him, do you want to go grab ice cream on University Avenue, here in Palo Alto? He's like, yeah, let's go for it. He's flying in from Atlanta. He sees somebody that he talked to that morning who lives in San Diego, who recorded the first music video that he ever shot when he got signed to his label 15 years ago. So they are randomly walking across the street and they see each other. And then somebody that I know from the Stanford football team comes and joins us. We're all just hanging outside of an ice cream shop on University Avenue. So I say all this to say, sometimes you just got to make time to not plan anything and just stand out and see what happens. It's been a magical week, random crazy connections over.
That's awesome. I'm an introvert. I like the indoors. I had a fun night last night. So quick story. My oldest went to a poker party with a bunch of parents, and he's like, I really want to play. And so this was a couple months ago, and he came in second among 10 of us. And some of us can play. And my youngest gave a presentation at school, and he's like, I want to present on my favorite card games, and I want to present on war and blackjack. And I was like, oh, interesting. And we were practicing it outside with my dad and my wife and the kids. And his closing line was, happy gambling. So last night we did kind of our first annual boys' night poker. So my dad actually lives with us. He came up the stairs from his ADU, and we played Texas Hold'em for the four of us and ate some pizza and had a grand old time. So it was, no one got in any fights. It was great. We just it was fun. So I'm teaching my kids how to gamble, guys. I think that is responsible parenting. I think that's in the Bible somewhere. Leviticus talks about teaching your kids to gamble. I'm pretty sure. I'm not 100%. I'm not a professional scholar, but
Now, did you teach him, and has the student eclipsed the master yet? Is he better than you yet, Jarad, or not?
No, not even close. Yeah, no.
I
won a tournament the other day, with a bunch of people. So I'm not great, but I can beat a 12-year-old. So thank you for assuming I couldn't. I will say my 76-year-old dad got beat by the two kids. Hammered. So good for them. Guys, hey, let's head on over to headlines and hot takes.
Headlines and hot takes.
Guys, I wanna talk kind of three topics today. So let me start off with this stat. 26% of Americans are spending more than they earn. 44% have difficulty paying all their bills. 63%, two-thirds, are feeling financial stress at this moment, and more than a third of people could not cover a $2,000 emergency. Your car breaks down the side of the road. I had an air conditioner break down the other day. It was more than $2,000 to repair. When I think about lifestyle creep, we're all in very interesting positions, but how much stress do you guys feel in your financial life, and how much does this resonate with you?
Mm. I can start us off. I know that ever since I left like big tech and started to jump into startup life, I have been so busy that I haven't as much had the time to like stress over kind of the day to day, like minute by minute, how's my portfolio doing? So these days, I set it and forget it for the most part. I sometimes go days without knowing what's happening in the stock market, running around so fast that I'm door dashing a lot more than I would if I was moving at a slower pace. So I feel good about the progress that I'm making, but I have to admit that I'm not as close to day by day feeling like I'm doing the optimal thing. Travis, I'll kick it over to you. You tell me what's happening on your side.
Yeah, I am in set it and forget it mode. Having left a corporate environment and gone to solo LLC world for my employment, though, I definitely see it a lot more. The things that were just handled by global megacorp in the past are now handled by me. So I'm watching that money go out every month for my health insurance for my family, and I feel what people are complaining about. It's not that cheap to get health insurance, and it could be a big financial burden. Even going to Chipotle last week, if you grab a burrito, drinks, and throw in a tip, you're in for $20. Like, and that's I think the cost of food is a real thing for a lot of people right now. And I don't know that wages are keeping up with it for a lot of people. There's definitely some people. You read the headlines in Silicon Valley, especially as AI engineers are getting poached for professional athlete money, essentially. But that is the outlier. That is not the normal for most of America.
$1 trillion.
Exactly. I,
Oh
I'm
my
just waiting
god.
for the story of like somebody, a pro athlete, like saying, "Forget this. I'm going back to school to be an AI engineer so I can make more money."
I'm waiting for Elon Musk to shave his head and become Dr. Evil for real. Uh, so so you're feeling a little stressed today, but I'll tell you, you guys have both been very successful. I've been very lucky in my career as well. How do you think about lifestyle creep? Because it's not like, guys, you guys aren't driving the same beat up cars that you were driving when I met you. You guys don't live in a one bedroom apartment anymore. How do you guys think about lifestyle creep? And is there anything you've done to kind of tamp it down? Is it inevitable? I had a friend, kind of someone I mentor, asked me this. They're like, how do you stop it? And I said, I don't know if you can. It does seem a little bit inevitable.
Yeah, so I'd say I've got the values and the principles that I want to transfer and like have my family and my community like take hold of. And as long as I'm directionally moving towards those principles, the fact that I'm signing my kids up maybe for too many activities, or the fact that I'm not cooking in the home as much as I want to, or the fact that, I was at the gas pump yesterday. I swear I hadn't even pressed the go, and I already saw the numbers like moving past $3, $4. I'm like, how am I not even pressing it? And the numbers are that's how bad gas prices are.
How high are they? Oh, sorry. I thought you wanted me to set you up for a joke there. Sorry.
Softball across home plate there.
Dude, like $6 for 1 gallon? Are we in a parallel universe of some kind? But yeah, to get back to the point, it's like as long as I'm moving in the direction that I think is, honorable, the kids and the family and the community are like exhibiting the attributes that we aspire to attribute or to get to, then I'm okay if we're not saving as optimally as the next person or family and not like doing everything like quote unquote by the book. So, you get into your 40s and I feel like I hustled so hard in the 20s and the 30s that I can afford to, and like I should give myself some grace to not be as optimal moving forward. But that's just how I feel. I don't know, Travis, if you feel differently.
think there's definitely an element to what you do in your 20s and 30s. Now, looking back, has shaped my habits in my 40s in a lot of ways. And so, if you are more diligent with it and you create thrifty habits of saying, like we're gonna definitely enjoy some food out if we can run with the food example, but we're not going to do it every night. So here's kind of our meal plan for the week, and Tuesday's always taco night or whatever it is. For us, Friday's always pizza night, and it's pretty consistent that we just have these habits kind of built in as a family now. And as a result, like those are things we still carry on, even though you might be able to afford to do more. Like we still like the lifestyle that we've built over the last decade plus. So I think the habits that you create are super important, whether positive or negative. If your habit is a $7 Starbucks drink every single morning or maybe twice a day, that does have a financial impact that can add up. It doesn't seem like a lot in the moment, but compounding returns are like the eighth wonder of the world. So um, those habits do affect us.
I'm gonna maybe disagree a little bit on like the coffee piece. I mean, yeah, $7 is a lot for my Starbucks, but like, isn't this kind of the point? I still save a lot and I still do those things, but like when I go on vacation now, like I want it to be nicer. I like that my work makes me travel and therefore I have airline status. Like it gets me nicer things. I like that I spend my money on time now. Like I pay cleaner. I pay my kid to do the yard, but like before that I paid a gardener. Like I'm buying my time back.
I totally get you. Stuff that I could literally hear my accountant mom being like, "That's too much money for that," and I'm like swiping to get it all the time now. I am experiencing things for the first time that I'm like, "Oh, this is the difference between clear and waiting in line," or, "Oh, this is like the difference between like, paying that marginal amount of money and getting this experience versus another one." And once you like feel it, you can't unfeel it. Once you see it, you can't unsee it. And you're like, sometimes it's actually worth it. So I'm with you, JB.
I have a friend who is a builder, home builder. They recently built a significant house, custom house in a large metro area nearby here without a kitchen. Like no kitchen. Like and so Matt brought this up. He said this is a really interesting, maybe the start of a trend that people are in a spot where they DoorDash, Uber Eats things so much that they neither
When we were at Google, I ate 6 meals a day there or however many they would give me. So I had free baristas, I had whatever, right? I'm thinking about homes here. I'm looking at another stat. So one of the things that sometimes that I feel makes it even more challenging is the keeping up with the Joneses, right? Like I live in Mountain View. I feel like every week there's 4 houses on my street who are getting torn down to sticks and being rebuilt. And I mean, and those are nice homes. And at some point, and I know Travis, you and I are not on social media. I'd love to hear how you think about it. But there's a great article in the Washington Post that talks about how a smaller house can be better for your mental health. And I went on a tour with a guy who said he moved to Arizona from California, bought a 4,000 square foot home, and he like grew distant from his family. And they ended up downsizing to like, and they had a hard time finding a home under 2,000 square feet because he's like, I feel like I'm going to get divorced. I haven't seen my kid in like days because the house is so big. You just had your own wings.
Yeah, yeah. So the social media thing, and anyone who checks me out on LinkedIn will know that I've spent 15, 16 years in big tech, especially in social media for the past 7 or 8. 7. And I even before I went to social media for employment, I took the summers off. So if you are on Facebook, you can deactivate your account for a week, for a month, for the entire summer. I did the entire summer because even before I was spending enough time on it where I knew that there was an opportunity cost and I wanted to be doing other things. And so at that point, I hadn't completely cut it out, but I did put some guardrails in. To the point where when I interviewed there, I wondered if they were going to bring that up. Like, how much do they creep on your profile? And be like, tell us more, sir. I've asked you.
I would say before I interviewed, I had to reactivate my Facebook because I was super afraid. And I was like, the week before, I'm like posting like crazy. I'm like, do they check this? Right? Like,
They hired an executive who had never been on Facebook before, and he had to create a profile on the way in.
yeah,
And
to create an account there, you use your personal Facebook, right? And for years before we had like a work version, uh, you actually posted and use your personal Facebook to do work, which is super fascinating, right?
definitely overlapped the lines there between home and work.
Yes.
Um, and I think that we've all probably experienced this, and I experienced it too. I've gotten into, it's not just Facebook, but it is Facebook and also TikTok. It is also YouTube, especially YouTube short form video, the
YouTube Shorts are
reels.
the best. They're the best.
They are the best, and also they are the worst in the sense
Mhm.
that 49 minutes can go by, and I'll look up and I'll have lost track of time. And also, if I go to bed and then the next morning I think about how I spent that 49 minutes, I cannot remember most of what I watched. It is so shallow that unless I've saved a URL and could go back and visit it or share it with a friend, um, most of it is just in and out and isn't actually changing my life in any way.
Yeah, I think that if you were to intentionally like carve out the 24 hours that you have in a day, if I'm watching YouTube shorts with my kids and like laughing and like we can recall that moment together, then I'm okay with it. But if I'm like scroll solo and I know that nothing's coming out of it, then I a little bit more harsh on myself for doing stuff like that. But yeah, it's I think a slippery slope. I get like that where I lose track of time when I'm like around musical instruments. So I could be on a piano or just like kind of getting lost in drums or just like listening to Spotify or something. So I think we all have to be really careful about those things that are quicksand for us. But if it's meaningful and done with other people, then I think
Right.
I'm more prone to be okay with it.
Some of my lifestyle creep pieces I think are not healthy. Like when I think about what car I drive, I used to worry a lot about what kind of car I drove, particularly when I was single. I just finished a remodel on the house. Every time I made a choice, I was asking myself, am I doing this for me or am I doing this so that when my neighbor or friend walks in, they think it looks good? How much do you guys struggle with that in terms of the comparison?
I think it's real. And, the first aspect we were talking about here is opportunity to cost with your time. And the second aspect is that old quote, right? Comparison is the thief of joy. I don't know if it was Ben Franklin or who's, I think it's been attributed to a number of
I
people.
think I said it. I'm not sure. I think it
And,
was
and,
me.
and,
I mean, if no one's claimed it, then I think, and
I,
Ben Franklin can't claim it, so I think it was me. I don't know.
Abraham Lincoln quoting Jared Backlund.
That's
Yes.
right, 100%. Yep. And Jared Backlund quoting Bill and Ted. Got it.
But I think it's true, right? The old story about the somebody had come in from their garden, they're gardening in the backyard, and it resonated with me because I like to garden. And they're admiring what they're doing while they're drinking a glass of iced tea. Mail is sitting on the island. They look through the mail, and there's a magazine in their Better Homes and Gardens. They start flipping through, and suddenly they're not as happy with what they've just been working on because they're looking at all these beautiful pictures of what it could be, and they realize that it's Better Homes and Gardens for a reason. It's better homes and gardens than yours. And that is, I think, what we've got on tap 24/7 in our pockets now is the ability to review what everybody else is doing and compare to it. And it's an unfair comparison, right? We've all known this, right? The people curate the best views, the best angles, the best shots, the best. I mean, you can now. There's a business out there, right? Multiple businesses out there where you can go rent the fuselage of a private jet on an hourly basis so that you can shoot short form video in it. It's not a real jet. You're not in the air, but if you want to look like you are, this is a thing for influencers to do now, right? And so
Interesting.
the manufacturing image of this product now is out there. And I think even if we didn't know consciously that it's not real or it's curated heavily, I think subconsciously it still has an effect. We are comparison animals, I think.
The expectations that people set and like the standards that you have are pretty healthy most of the times. Like it's a good thing to want to do a good job at something or like to use craftsmanship and to put like appropriate amounts of blood, sweat, and tears into things.
Good point.
But
Yes.
to the extent that we have defined like what contentment or like what enough actually means for ourselves or for our families, I think especially like the generation coming up now, Gen Z, Gen Alpha, it's really difficult for them to understand kind of where they sit and fit in the world. And if their parents haven't had very like intentional conversations about, this is enough money, this is enough time spent on these social media accounts or these screens, this is like I feel like if you don't have that structure and you're just left to have the internet like educating you on these things, then you're in for maybe a lot of pain moving forward. So I think I I would want for all of us to kind of step back and have a conversation at the family unit level, at a community level. Like, what is it that we're actually doing all of this towards? And if you can reverse engineer like what your ultimate like goal or destination is, then we can live much more fulfilling lives that are balanced and like have decent amounts of screen time and games and like on the other side, touching grass and doing stuff together. But since nobody's like made a hard line on a lot of that stuff, I feel like a lot of us are just winging it and being busy and not figuring out like, what good looks like in each of the different categories.
The big word is intentionality around that. I
Mhm.
love how you're just casting this out there to say, if I'm not intentional about it, where am I really going, and how am I going to use this beneficially? Probably low chances of success, but like you're saying, Brad, and if I can be intentional about this, if I can craft this and find a way to put this in there, and then use it as a point of common humor with the family. If it's YouTube videos that we all laugh about together, we're spending quality time together. If it's video games, whatever, I think all of these have a healthy place in the time budget maybe of a family, but the intentionality is super important to the point where the non-intentionality of it to just fill time or take a dopamine hit break has been referred to as the next generation smoke break. Like I just need 10 minutes to go grab a cigarette has become I need 10 minutes to go watch some short form video on whatever platform you're on.
Um, I'm super curious. So I had a number when I was in my 20s. I'm like, if I hit that number, I'm done. I'll never work again. And for some reason, that number keeps going up. You two
Mm.
talked about going to a startup, being self-employed. I took 6 months off at some point, and I remember being really worried about money every day. But in retrospect, like I very easily adjusted my lifestyle down. I actually honestly didn't even feel it. Like it was fine. I didn't pay a cleaner. I just cleaned my shower myself. Like it's all good. Um, I'm curious, like, how do you guys know enough is enough? And then do you guys feel like your bars move? Do you feel like it just keeps going up? I went back into a big corporate job and I felt like I turned it back on. Like I felt like it was, you know what? Like, let's go spend some money. So I'm curious, how do you guys measure that for yourself?
Kids are really expensive. Let me just start by saying that. And if you have yet
So
to
expensive.
take the plunge, I just say take your time. Uh,
I'll give you another one. Two things. Like one, they're super expensive. Two is way more than twice as hard. Way more than twice as hard.
yeah. And then in my case, I've got three. So then I actually have shifted how that people tell you to like save for college? I feel like I'm bringing all of the savings into my present day and are investing in things that I'm hoping will translate to them being able to take care of themselves when they get older. Like, sorry, your scholarship money pool is a little bit smaller or your savings pool from dad is smaller, but he gave you all these things in the near term that you were able to build the skills, build the principles, build the entrepreneurial attitude to be able to take care of yourself when you actually get to the point that that money in the future would have like kind of taken care of. So I've changed my philosophy a little bit, which makes it more okay for me to invest in things that relate to their development or their interests these days. But yeah, I'm still conflicted because the number that I had for myself uh, a decade ago is different and the savings rate is slower. And I just I've made peace with being okay with that at this point. And I'm working at a startup, right? You're hoping that it does really well, so that the equity that you have translates into some kind of a liquidity event in the future. But again, that's kind of faith and hopes and dreams, and like working hard to make that happen without the guarantee that it's actually going to happen like that. So I'm in limbo, and I say prayers every day to try to be okay with that and try to um I don't know, try to sit with that. But yeah, it's some tension there.
It reminds me of the quote from JD Rockefeller. I had to look it up here. When somebody asked him how much was enough, he said just a little bit more. And his net worth in
My
in
God.
today's dollars is, 600 billion. So even if somebody with half a trillion dollars says how much is enough, just a little bit more, I think this is kind of a human condition. So we're all in this together, and it seems like it comes up in a lot of different ways that we're searching for something that maybe just a little bit more will satisfy, maybe just a little more security, maybe just a better opportunity for our kids. My wife, I'm in the same boat. My wife did challenge me one time also to say, kids are expensive, but also I have families in our community that she serves in a healthcare field. I have a fraction of the money that we do, like don't have high paying tech jobs, right? I have hourly jobs and have way more kids than we do. And they're doing fine. There are some moments where things are maybe a little tight. And I grew up in a family where sometimes things were a little tight. I definitely remember that. But also, I think my childhood was largely happy. Like it was largely good. And so, even though we may not have had every single opportunity, we didn't have the nicest of things. We had all of the things that we needed. And that can be good enough as well.
Yeah, isn't that interesting? I mean, when I grew up, my mom was disabled, and my dad was taking care of a sick wife and kind of primary caregiver for a kid, and he never owned a home. Certainly had some moments where we might have been homeless. Certainly got some free food every once in a while, and like yes, it created a certain amount of stress, right? That was different than probably what my kids feel, but at the same time, like we were fine, right? Like it all worked out, right? And so it's the imagining of what it could be. Or to your point, Brandon, like I've got to save up. Like I have people who are just like, yeah, like I'm not putting money in my 401k because I got to put it in the 529. I'm like, no. Oh, no, like you can't take it with you, and I'm sure as heck not giving it to my kids. So I just, I better have a good time now.
Bonus hot take. Bonus hot take from Jared today.
I, you know,
Also, the awareness that to your a little bit more quote, Travis, that I'm increasingly like aware that the people around me, like it's a zero sum game kind of, in that if I choose to go for a little bit more, it's sometimes translating into a little bit less. If I spend a little bit more, then I'm more likely to say no to that person that might need, $5 or $10 on the street. So like,
Sure.
there's this like tension of literally asking myself, Brandon, enough is kind of enough, right, for your family. Like, let's focus things a little bit more outwardly so that you can develop some compassion and develop, like, in your kids, the ability to see people that are typically unseen. And there's plenty of opportunities for us to do better in that regard, too, at the family unit as well as, like, kind of in on the broader scales.
If it's a very American thing, I think, or a very Western thing to measure by net worth. A lot of us have measured our value as by net worth. Maybe it's a very Western thing, but maybe not the rest of the world. So, is that a healthy measure? Is it the only measure? And if it's not the only measure, is there a different measure out there that we should consider?
that's a very quantifiable thing, and it's a very comparable thing, right? Like, I could tell you my number, and you can tell me your number, and we're all about the same age, and I can be sad when my number's smaller than yours, and happy if it's bigger, I guess, right? As you say, Western culture is very competitive, particularly American culture, and so mine's a dollar more, right? I remember when we were in school, I looked over and one of our classmates had their trading portfolio open and it was the most money. Like even today, I fathom it how much it was, and I'm like, I just kept thinking, I'm like, I had to tell myself that they had rich parents was. So it's
Born on third base, thinking they hit a triple. Is that the old phrase? Right?
that's right. That's right. Thinking they hit. Oh my gosh, that reminds me of that character. He's like, my life's so hard. um, yeah, I don't know, but like, I think that's part of it. It's like, okay, so I have no grandparents left. My last one just passed away. I have one parent left. I'm an only child, right? Like, how do I measure that, right? I do have good family relationships, but they're all gone, right? I have no cousins. That used to be a measure, and now it can't be, right? Of something far out of my control. I have a wonderful group of friends like you two. Uh, but then again, like, how many is enough, right? Like, then you start going around like, do I have enough friends? And do I have the right friends? Are they all socioeconomically the same? And therefore, we're all kind of the same person, right? Even though we're different. So, I don't know, man. How do you, if you want a numbers, if like I'm a numbers guy, like I think net worth's easy. So, I mean, I don't know, man. I don't know how to measure things besides that well.
Say, and I like looking at kind of to social media that we talked about earlier, like the number of connections that I have on social media had been like something that I check pretty regularly because one, when I got on social
Wait, can
media,
I just say that makes me feel a ton better? Because when I look at your social media following, I just feel bad about myself. And I'm like, how many of these people? So just the fact that you even think about that actually just makes me feel 1,000% better.
yeah, I mean, you're over there checking your portfolio. I'm over there checking my follower count and like how many people are like
You're human.
engaging with stuff.
Thank you, brother, for being human. I appreciate it.
But it initiated with my mom and dad being like, "Hey, you're moving to California. We want to be able to like track what you're doing and like know what you're up to." So like my initial dive into social media was like, I'm moving away a couple thousand miles from Chicago, and I want my community here to like know what's up. And it turned into something that's like literally pretty useful. Like if you work a job and you've got customers and you're like externally facing, that LinkedIn and like some of these platforms are really helpful for you to be able to get a message out and connect with folks that you might not be able to do the IRL thing with a lot. So um, yeah, I pay a lot of attention to those metrics, like how many people am I connected to? And then there've been like, especially through COVID, a lot of opportunities to take those virtual connections and like make them like in real life. Like, oh, I'm flying to your city. Like, let's do a coffee, or I'm flying to this same event as you. Like, let's be human. Let's do the human thing and have a dinner together. So I value those things a lot more than I value kind of the dollars in my savings account, maybe to a fault. But I think in the long run, whether you're a trillionaire, Elon, Bezos, or not, I would like to be able to judge people on their decision making and their track record of doing things that I think will be helpful to like humanity and helpful to kind of our big cause. And each of the people that I personally meet with, I want to like leave a deposit in them that would encourage them to be like the person that I wish the trillionaires of today were. Like some of their decision making, when I look at the articles and like the stuff that they're doing, I'm like, it's a little different than what I would do if I had all those resources at my disposal. But I'm doing my part little by little, connection by connection, to try to change the tide eventually.
Is and I love this, and maybe what we're getting at here too is that there are other measures out there. They're just harder to quantify, and so sometimes we fall back to the things that are easiest to measure. And Jared, I mean, you're inherently hitting on one earlier too, where you said, I is it wrong to want to spend some of this money? And Brandon, you hit on this too, swipe and the DoorDash and whatnot. But what I hear in those moments is that I am buying back some time. I'm not cooking so I can buy back time. I'm hiring a house cleaner so I can buy back time because I can afford that now when I couldn't before. And that's awesome as long as that time then is used for what? Because all we've done is gone through an exchange rate of resources, right? We've gone from cash to time. Well, instead of what do you do with the cash? Now, what are you doing with the time and how do you use that? And Brandon, you're saying, I want to make a positive impact in the people that I meet. I want to be able to meet them IRL and leave a positive impact, and that's awesome. It's just really hard to measure, right? And so
Well, and there's like a negative side of that too. I will say yes, but some of what I'm buying back is I need to recover. right? Because I'm working friggin' hard, right? Like I'm working so hard to generate this income that I need to like rest and relax. And I'm buying luxury, right? And so luxury does a couple things. One, it makes you feel better than other people. I can afford this $100 bottle of wine and you can't. And two, it buys you isolation, right? Like when I'm sitting in business class, I have more room, right? When I'm sitting in a nicer hotel room, I have more space. I still think the positive side is I stayed in a much nicer hotel room on my last vacation than I have in a long time. But at the same time, like I didn't see as many people because I was on some special floor or something like that with a bunch of people like me.
Yeah, I think
Sure.
the thing we do horribly in Western culture with work and corporate culture is like rest, like you talked about. So
Mm.
um, sometimes you get inspo. You know, you go to that nice hotel room and you think a thought that you probably wouldn't have thought if you were in your busy like routine. And maybe that's the design spark to something that you do differently or some new thing that you start to uh, regularize moving forward from that vacation or that hotel stay. So I think there's definitely got to be room for us to recharge and to like, make room to be re-inspired so that the work that we do moving forward actually is meaningful. And yeah, this 40-hour work week as a minimum and then 80, 90, 100 as a maximum as we went through our 20s and 30s is like a real thing. And our bodies, I don't know if they're meant for, I'm not sure like what the body is actually meant for, but my knees and my back
Naps.
these days.
Mine's meant for naps and tacos. Naps and tacos. Uh,
That's another metric though that Western culture, especially Silicon Valley culture, celebrates in the negative, right? The less is more in the sense the less you sleep and the more you hustle, the more you celebrate your I don't know founder mode status, I
my
guess,
God.
right? Marissa Mayer was famous for this. She'd left Google and went to she's one of many in a string of CEOs at Yahoo, celebrating the fact that she worked so much that she only slept 3 hours a night, and that was kind of the subtle expectation for most people is that we should all be able to
How did
survive
that
on
turn
three
out?
hours
How
a
did
night.
Yahoo? Are you still using Yahoo? Oh my gosh, like ran that thing into the ground.
Only for fantasy football, which I'm sure drives like a third
I,
of their
I'll be, I'll
revenue.
be honest. That has to be like half their revenue. Is that's the only
Yahoo
thing I use it
Finance,
for?
anybody? Still
Uh,
checking stocks and stuff? I don't know.
996 is another thing that's getting, and for the people who don't know what 996 is, it's not the Porsche. It is the 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. 6 days a week, culture mode for the work environment. So
it's crazy. I wrote a piece on my blog, like also rest versus avoidance, because I noticed myself. Like, yeah, I'm always calling it rest, but like sometimes I'm avoiding emotions, I'm avoiding hard things, I'm ignoring things I'm actually responsible for. And so my therapist talks to me a lot about kind of rest versus avoidance, because I like to call things rest when in reality uh, I'm not actually resting. Like it's a skill to me to rest. I had to learn how to rest. I knew how to avoid. I didn't know how to rest. Like one of the things my dad's in his mid 70s, but we talked a lot about is just how work has changed. And one of the places where, I think folks used to feel more valued, and certainly I've gotten a lot of my identity from this, even though I've never founded a company. For some reason, I put a lot of my identity in what I do. But one of the things I see changing, Business Insider wrote this great piece the other day called "Welcome to the Era of the Forever Layoff," and my hot take is I am now convinced that in Silicon Valley and some of these tech companies that a server is more valuable than a person. But, the union participation rates are falling. They're basically dying. You've got all these AI layoffs, which are just an excuse to lay off people, frankly, and make more money for people who are investing in equity. But I don't know, guys. Like, it's hard to feel valuable when I feel like I'm a number on a spreadsheet. And again, this is what I do for a living. So it's hard for me to feel that way.
I think that if you personify capitalism, if you like imagine it as kind of a human being or a part of the body of capitalism is like the corporation.
Ron
And
Swanson. I'm picturing Ron Swanson. Yeah, keep going.
and just the idea that as it grows and matures, like capitalism moves from baby stage to like teen and then adult and like older. I think that kind of the unit of production and just what it does, it returns like shareholder value to investors. Um, However, you can get it, right? Whether human beings are doing the labor, whether there's like new innovations to how to like do that. So if we're trying to center human beings, um, then I wonder like if we need to question kind of the status quo capitalist kind of system that we operate in. It's many hundreds of years in like the making, so it's not an easy and simple thing to like deconstruct. But I think the longer that you work in corporate environments or in companies, the more obvious it is that you are a human cog in a wheel that like is for the purpose of the corporation succeeding inside of that capitalist system, yada, yada, yada. You play it forward. So I remember like the third year that I was working, like this must have been like 2008, 2009. Cisco systems where I was working at had like this limited restructuring. They always call it something different. But you see early on that they invest and acquire the company on this one side, and then they kind of lay off uh, part of the workforce on the other side. And I just started to get the sense that, oh, this is like a regular thing. And every year it happened the same. Like a certain percentage of the company got let go, and then a certain percentage of the company was like new, fresh, kind of from our M&A, corporate development department, like acquiring someone and spinning them into our company. So yeah, it helped me to detach my personal value as a human being from like, okay, when I spend 8 hours or 9 hours or 10 hours a day at whatever company I'm at, this is how they're deriving value from it. And I've been blessed to be in some great situations, and then you've seen like the downside of tough times when like COVID hits, or when something's not going right in the macro economy. It affects you doing a great job, just like it affects the underperformer. If the top brass of your company have to make some difficult decisions, they are kind of thinking about you as a human being and a person, but like there's certainly other things that are more important than that.
Maybe I can touch on. I love all that, Brandon, and also maybe I can touch on one thing that Jared mentioned here too, which is, was it always this way? Was it,
Mm.
has the wool just been pulled over our eyes forever, and finally it's just being revealed, or has something like culturally shifted? And I'm in the culturally shifted camp here, I think, on this. Just having been at Google in the earlier days, their filing for IPO, right, included a phrase like, "We are not a traditional company. We don't intend to become one." And I think for a long time they lived that out. They kind of gave the middle finger to Wall Street and said, "We're just going to keep investing and doing the things that we know are right, regardless of how whatever you're measuring us by our stock price, and we kind of don't care." So like we're fine over here, and if you want to measure us that way, go play your game. But we'll do our thing over here, and that has definitely transitioned, especially in Jared. Interested in maybe your take here, working in finance at Google, as
Mhm.
CFOs have shifted, right? I think
Yeah.
that was the vibe that I got for a long time, but also towards the end of my tenure there was definitely a question of, can we maintain over 20% growth year over year to keep Wall Street generally happy and satisfied? And that was something that in the earlier days they'd not cared about. Other maybe pieces of evidence I can offer up to. I remember sitting in a TGIF, and for listeners who aren't aware, like TGIF was, thank God it's Friday, but it was the company meeting at the end of the week where they pulled everybody together, and somebody had gotten up in the Q&A hot mic session with the founders of Google and asked, we've got a problem in the Bay Area. Housing is expensive. One of the engineers on our team passed away this week, unfortunately, tragically. His spouse is a preschool teacher and with multiple kids, and they're going to have to move now because they can't afford to live here on a preschool teacher's salary without, a spouse. It's like, is there something we can do? And a week later, they'd come up with essentially a survivor benefit where if a Googler passed away, the surviving spouse, I think, got half of their salary for 10 years, and any dependents or kids get a monthly stipend of $1,000 each until they turned 18, regardless of where you moved. And so they have a ton of money and they could afford to do that, first of all. But second, they didn't have to. And they took a very human centered view of that. And all of that is great, but also all of that is 10, 15 years ago. And I think it has shifted. And I think they have become a traditional company, serving Wall Street, serving expectations. And maybe the counter argument is, what if they didn't? Could they survive when everybody else is playing that cutthroat capitalist game? Could they have survived trying to hold on to that mission? Or was it inevitable that they had to let go of that and play a less human centered game?
Yeah, it's a great question. So I'm re-listening to Laszlo Bock's Work Rules right now, just kind of fascinated. I've been thinking about hiring and all the things he talks about. And I was there when he wrote the book. And uh, one of the
For our
areas
listeners, who is Laszlo?
Laszlo
Because
was
we all know.
the head of HR at Google, and I happened to be his finance partner at the time. Travis, that benefit, they also got all their invested stock immediately, which that was actually the big windfall. So,
I
um,
didn't. Yeah, I forgot about that.
but I can tell you, I was also the finance guy who was looking at those numbers and being asked by other executives, how much is this costing us when it happens, right? Like, how many times is this happening a year? So I've been in that room, like where we were discussing it, and it's my job to tell them how much it costs and model it out, believe it or not, and all those things for insurance providers and all those things. So, um, I don't know, man. I can't figure out if Google or even Amazon for a long time just said I'm not going to make a profit and I'm going to invest in this stuff. I think it's more important. I don't know if it was like they're the outliers where these companies tried to do it. I mean, you've got great places like Costco who just like doesn't fire people, just straight up doesn't fire people. They figure out a way to help you. You've got places like, In-N-Out's got a really nice culture. You've got, plenty of private companies. There's a company I work with a little bit, and know their exec team really well. And I tell you, man, like they just treat their people well and they think about it all the time. So it exists in pockets. Certainly feels very different now, and it certainly feels like it's shifted. And you talked about CFOs. CFOs forever were big eight. For those who don't know, there used to be 8 accounting firms. It was all accountants who are by the book, buttoned up, numbers people, but like weren't necessarily influencing decisions and in the ways that maybe a modern CFO. And then modern CFOs are often now investment bankers, private equity people, like really bottom line driven folks who are actively trying to think through how do I squeeze another point out of operating margin or whatever. And, I'm very grateful to work with and for people who don't think like that. But I know that not every company's like that. And you got to fight for it. Like when you're inside a company, I view one of my jobs as I'm here to fight for and create the culture I want on my team. And if you've got a great company culture like I do, like you still got to fight for the one you want and protect it, right? And to your point, Travis, like what I saw at Google was at some point you brought in enough outside people who fought for a different culture, right? And maybe that's okay. I don't know.
Yeah, to bring it full circle around the like GPU server versus person, I looked up this stat. Like I think Alphabet for the first time in a long time reported negative free cash flow of about $6 billion in this like last quarter. So that tells you how much money they're putting into this AI infrastructure, and when you've got like that deficit and that kind of shift and change, you're asking yourself kind of bigger ideological, philosophical questions that again will be trickle down to the individual people that like make up your corporation. So, Travis, you started us off by saying you think this is like a marked market shift in things versus just this having happened time over time over time in all the different technology shifts that we've had over the last couple of decades. So yeah, it's uncharted territory even for Google to be in this negative cash flow situation. So what's that Michael Jackson popcorn meme? I'll just be on the sidelines, kind of seeing what's going on.
I think it's a good place to cut over. Why don't we transition into the wind down? So I know we do different things in the wind down. So today, I'll take charge, and I think I want to ask you guys a reflective question, and I can ask it and then answer it first, so you have a few minutes to think. So, what are you measuring that is quietly shaping who you're becoming? And for me, Travis, you hit upon this. Like, I think it's my net worth. So one thing that didn't maybe come out, and maybe we, because of where we live and what we do, we know a lot of people who are rich even by American standards. And I'll tell you, rich does not make you a good person, and rich does not make you happy. Those are the two things that I see over and over again. And I must admit, I'll confess, like, there's this great app called Empower where I can look at my net worth every day. I log in and look at my bank account. I look at my investing account. I don't need to. Like, the number doesn't change much. Like, this is super not great and healthy. But I've been thinking a lot as I was kind of prepping for today, is just thinking about, the fact that I look at that and I think about what that number is and I think about what it has to be is maybe distracting. I read this great article about how to think about your career and happiness. And it said, if you can find a way to, because so much of this is just mental, to say, hey, this is my calling. And that could be for someone at Chipotle or my dry cleaner or a nurse or a finance person or the head of education at Replit. Like, it's so much about your mindset. But if you can view this as a calling, whatever it is you do, and inserts purpose into it, all this other stuff kind of takes a back seat, right? So it helps me measure things a little bit differently. So that's kind of the thing I'm measuring quietly, that's shaping who I'm becoming, that maybe I will say I want to change.
Yeah. I know I touched on mine a little bit earlier in the episode around kind of human connection and like relationship building and trying to make sure that in my day to day interactions, I feel blessed to be in the job that I'm in because as head of education at Replit, I do get to spend a fair bit of time with the next generation of students that will become like the leaders of our world. Do a bunch of stuff in the community to make investments to help people become AI literate, and a lot of that work is like documenting and recording and like trying to, um, you know, take examples of what good looks like and then put them up on our web properties to have and inspire people to do the same. And at the end of most of the days that I work, it's super hard. We have to cut and edit all of the stuff that we record, but at the end of the day, I feel like I've been able to transfer a lot of the values, a lot of the just human connection stuff that like fills my own bucket up. And when I juxtapose what I get to do now versus what I get gotten to do at big companies, Amazon, Microsoft, yada yada yada. I'm tired at the end of the day, but I really do appreciate having been able to make an actual stamp and imprint on people. So the stuff that I'm measuring, I'm looking at Dropbox folders full of, photography and like laughs and like questions and like interactions with humans. And that's the stuff that I am most proud to measure. So to again, my detriment, I probably don't check my 401k and Charles Schwab and, my bank unless I'm getting like some kind of nasty message like, oh, you're close to overdrafting or like being in the negative so I can move some money around. But like,
You're in our
yeah,
top 1% of DoorDash spenders. Ooh.
yeah, yeah. So, but yeah, the human stuff and like the metrics around it is probably the thing that I'm measuring. And then there's a cool app called Be Present, which I downloaded to my phone. These guys like literally had their app rejected from the App Store because it incentivizes people to use their phone and social media apps especially like less. So Apple had a back and forth to like actually allow their app to be used. But to make sure I'm not going down the rabbit hole, every time I open up LinkedIn or Instagram or a social media app, I have a 5 minute timer. So I literally have be present, open it up for 5 minutes, and I know I've got to like do what I'm going to do within 5 minutes or else it's going to shut me down. And you get like either 5 or 10 sessions of that social media app per day, and then you're all out for the day to continue on your streak. So they've gamified kind of quickly getting in and out. And something, if our listeners haven't heard of Be Present, they're doing good work over there.
Great tip. What about you,
I like
Travis?
it. It's like forced intentionality again. Intentionality just feels like this through line for me today.
For sure.
Um, For me, I read a book last year called The Gap and the Gain by a guy named Ben Hardy, who a number of people, as I've read this, a number of people have tracked in a few of his other books and recommended some of his other work as well. But that one really resonated with me. And 30 seconds on this, his theory or position in this book is that type A people tend to be really unhappy naturally because we're always measuring ourselves where we are against the
Yeah, we
horizon,
are. What's up?
where I
Let's
should be,
go.
right? Exactly. And the devil in the details here is that even when you make progress towards that and you make whatever you're making another big chunk of change, you get that promotion, whatever it is, you buy the car, the horizon shifts. Now that thing out there that I'm comparing myself is even farther out. So the amount that I wanted to get, now I've got it. Now I'm looking ahead. And I'm still unhappy because that's still further away. And just like hiking towards a horizon, the horizon's ever shifting. It will always be forward. So his position in his book is don't stop hiking. Be intentional about where you're hiking and where you're moving forward, but also measure backwards. Never stop measuring backwards to remember how far you've come, because that's actually more fulfilling to see how far you've made it. And in there is a practice that this is the measuring element that you asked about, Jared. Is a practice of each day journaling or looking back on what are 3 wins from yesterday and what are 3 wins I expect to have today, so that I can always keep measuring backwards. And if I want to, I can pop that journal open at any time and see like all the progress I've made. Even if it's not where I quote unquote want to be, I can see all of the success. And then also so that the 3 wins today or the next 3 wins are going to be things that I can intentionally make sure are lined up with my broader long-term goals, so that I'm not focusing on things that aren't important or misaligned. Sometimes those wins are well aligned to my work and my projects. Sometimes those wins are caught up with a friend that I haven't seen in 2 years. And that is a win too. And that is another thing that I think we should measure and keep in there. But that's how I've been approaching this for the past year or so.
I love it. I love it. I think a lot of wisdom here. I think maybe we should do a little one of our sessions on goal setting. I would actually be curious to see how you
Let's
guys
do it.
measure yourselves. Uh, Folks, thank you for joining us on Field Notes. You can find links to our socials, which is all LinkedIn. You can find us all on LinkedIn down in the show notes, and any other places you can find us, we'll put in the show notes as well. Boys, good to see you. Have a great and blessed week.
All right. See ya.
Love you
Thanks,
guys.
JP. Thanks, Travis.